All right, so we are live. Hey, everyone, this is Pete Erickson. I'm the founder of Modev, and I'm the creator of something new called The Impossible. And The Impossible is the idea that we are at this really interesting time where really shifting our identities and doing something that may have previously seemed impossible is now possible. In fact, we want to make it inevitable. So welcome to The Impossible Podcast. We're going to have great conversations. This is going to be our first conversation, and I'm excited because my guest, Z Wong, is somebody who I've known since late 2008 when I started the Modev developers, mobile developers meetup group, and started to do a series called Disruptathon, which was also about doing impossible things with mobile development, with mobile apps. And Z actually supplied the platform for our live scoring. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But he's an entrepreneur, came in from Hong Kong. Well, I don't want to steal your thunder, but Z, it's great to see you.
Great to see you, Pete. Thanks.
Introduce the audience to who you are, and I've always just loved your story.
Yeah. So Z here. So it doesn't. So just like the letter, came to the U.S. too long ago. Don't even mention it. But 2008 is a important time where mobile app became a thing. So many people there, we start building mobile apps. Prior to that, I would just say developer, right? So I had a consulting firm at that time, 2008, all in to mobile, and started a inspection mobile offline inspection platform. We did mostly I would say industrial inspection. So inspect something big, huge, like airplanes, bridges, or tiny. Like we also count birds, we count insects, we count we count and we inspect. That's the business. Fast forward, I sold it last year, 2025. Finally sold it, and now I call myself a entry level investor. So I just want to try. And right now I run a venture studio where we try to put in resources and money, and I still want to build, right? At heart, I'm still a builder. I want to continue. And now we're in a very different era. But I felt the same way, like when in 2008, 2009, everybody was talking mobile. There are huge opportunity. The ground is shaking. Right now, it's the same thing. Like actually, 2026, it's even more so. I think we have to talk about it. The ground is shaking. The industry is changing, and I love the framing of impossible because I've been telling all my friends who are just trying to get into this AI vibe coding thing, and I said there are two criteria if you're going into this. One is you got to be able to do 10x where you was doing before. If not, then you're just incrementally, just slowly getting better, not enough. And another thing is the impossible, where with the help of AI, you got to now be able to do something that you were not. Case in point is I was a developer. I can code, I can develop, but I was never an infrastructure person. Right. So I always hire people to run AWS. Right now, I don't need to. I am now setting up a full-blown, actually multi-account AWS setup, full-blown, everything set up correctly. Now, it's still a hassle. I still bang my head against the wall. Right. But now it's possible.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful framing. So,
well, thank you. I love that, you kind of juxtaposed that the mobile era brought you from being a developer to being an entrepreneur, because suddenly you could code an app that was an iForm that you could fill out and then capture, using iPads. And suddenly there was a big industrial need for that. You built a successful company, and now you just exited that company. We're at that era right now where you don't even need to be a developer. It doesn't matter where you come from, right? If you're a writer, if you're a retailer, if you're, you fill in the blanks, you can now do things that once were not possible. And that's the era that we're in. So the idea of of the Impossible and the Impossible AI Summits is we blend two things. One, and you're going through this right now, your identity shifting from entrepreneur to venture capitalist and running a venture studio learning to be right. So we are all going through that same thing. I've been a convener, a conference organizer, an ecosystem builder, using tools that were off the shelf and available, but now I can think about this in a completely different way. And so I'm building my second brain to actually help me run the Impossible AI Summits and to automate it as much as possible, every piece of it. So the infrastructure build, the websites, the marketing, and of course there's gonna be a lot of people. There's gonna be it is about the human beings, and we will have a lot of facilitators there to really help it move it along. But I think that it can scale as only the only limitation is my imagination for how do we scale these. And there's a big world out there, and there's people that need to make this move. So well, let's now go back to this transition that you're making from being an entrepreneur. By the way, congratulations on finally getting that sold. I know you and I have been talking about that for a while.
For years.
Yeah. It takes time, exits take time. And so really happy to hear that. So let's talk a little bit more about, what's the impossible goal for you right now? What's the vision right now? What's the dream?
Well, the dream, I put it on my LinkedIn status. I want to help unlock 10 millionaires in 5 years. So that is my dream right now. At a high level, I want to get more people to do more startups. I mean, that's the high level goal. I wrote this book over the pandemic. It's called Craft Your World.
Very cool.
I mean, it's called Craft Your World, right? So
I love that.
I felt like I through entrepreneurship, I've created a world for myself, which is like worth living. I believe, right? So I want more people to taste it. So right now, what I want to do is like concretely, right? So like getting more people to do more startup is the vision, if you will. Like the mission is in 5 years, right? We have 5 years to 2030. At the end of 2030, I want to unlock 10 millionaires. Now that may not happen, but I'm going to drive toward that. And I'm going to try to drive through what I know. The only thing I know is create software solutions, solving mundane, simple business problems that people actually use. The company that I built wasn't huge, but it's enough to create a good life. And I always joke about, like, people ask how big is the exit, as I'm not going to tell you. Yeah. While I will tell you, it is enough for me to retire, but it's not enough for me to buy 747s. I cannot afford 747s. Right. Wow. And I use that as a joke to remind myself, because I see people who are chasing like billionaire status. I create this joke of saying I cannot afford to buy 747s to remind myself, well, who needs to buy a 747, right? To ground myself. Actually, like we can talk about that in another episode where I ran through a depression, 2 distinct depression episodes before exit and after exit. We can find another time maybe to talk about, like.
No, I think it's interesting. I think mental health is a huge one right now. So I think societally, our mental health is in really bad shape. Yeah. Just the disruption, the geopolitical disruptions, both domestically and internationally, are hard to get our minds around. But then also we are, economically, we're at a very uncertain time. Right. And so that weighs on us. It weighs on everybody. And so thanks for sharing. I think that, it's a big part of it. And I think it's a big part of being able to break out and think that, that there's actually a solution out there to help us move into a different space. I find when my mental health gets down, I have to create.
Exactly.
The Impossible Summit for me is about that. It's about creating something. I put on a lot of events and can do standard AI events, and I'm pretty good at it. And School of Hard Knocks. But I'm happiest when I create something that doesn't exist. That's what was so fun about the early days and meeting you, right? Disruptathon did not exist. We didn't compete with anybody. We were doing startup forums.
Yeah.
And MoDev didn't exist before, and a lot of the conferences we put on. I mean, I've done so many different unique things. So tell us a little bit about that, because you said you had a depressive episode before the exit, and then after the exit. That's pretty interesting. So I would say there were probably two different reasons for those depressions.
Well, underlying is the same reason. Is now I don't want to go too deep, but this is not I don't know. It's up to you. I still want to really want to talk about OpenClaw, but anyway. So
we're going to get there,
right? The thing is the feeling of failure. Actually, I think I can distill down to the company. Right, the company get there, and in the beginning, right, we get to a growth period, and we believe, right, I say we is the team, and me and Chris and my business partner, and Scott, and we believe we'll be whatever, right, whatever that means, we be really successful, really whatever, and at some point it get into reality, right? So reality means, well, you're not continue to grow at a crazy rate, and reality hit, and then at that point you're like, okay, is this done? Is this I'm never going to be good or great, and you constantly get to the feeling of, okay, well, is that it? I'm not, but so that's the beginning of it. It's don't want to let go. And I need to I went through at least 2 years of no, I'm not done. I will be able to turn this around, make this a $1 billion startup, and then go, right?
Yep.
And within that, the reality is, you know what I did, right? So this is a mobile app that collect data. Now that world has moved, right? Because the world is very different in 2022 compared to 2008, right? It's very, very different.
Right.
So the fact is, no matter what I did, it's not going to go back to 2011, 2012, where people just signing up it's the wind that was with you. You're riding the wave, right?
The wind was at the backs of mobile developers and then cloud engineers between 2009 and 2018.
Right. So at that point, basically my turning point. I cannot. This is something that prior to that, I would say that's not me. I am a strong entrepreneur. If people around me say they're depressed, I say go take yourself up. What's your issue? Now until it hits you, then it's no reason, right? So I now understand there's no reason. I get it. Objectively, people will say, no, think about, you're so successful, you run a company, so many people make so much money, blah blah blah. I say all the objective evidence. I know that. It's not I'm it's not like I don't understand. I know if you put me on the map of everybody, I even gave a lecture about it to high school kids, where are you in society? You're so rich, so advanced, so privileged. I know that. But I can't control what happens here.
Right.
That is until now my click. I don't know if it clicks for everybody. I assume it's different.
Yeah.
Is that is not the end. So my anxiety was that, okay, that was it. My life is done.
Yeah, your
Um,
legacy has been it's been sowed. It's like
right.
that's your legacy is you built a company, it didn't get to where you wanted to. It sort of like started waning, and now that's it. I actually didn't build the billion-dollar company, right?
Right. And
Yeah.
and so what my breakthrough was, well, maybe if I let it go, I have a chance to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was my breakthrough. And as soon as I start to think like that, I feel better because maybe I have a chance somewhere else. Now that's also dangerous, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that got me out. And then after selling, it got into another episode. It's actually very similar. It's like, okay, well, yeah, it's not something that people read from the Forbes magazine, and is
Mm-hmm.
not that is nothing. Um, um, yeah, and also I felt so yeah. I mean, obviously after exit, then my wife and I was talking about, well, do we like, are we retired? By definition, are we retired? People start coming in, even family friends, like when they heard it, it's like they process a little bit. It's like, oh my god, so you retired? I mean, I don't know, I never thought of
Right.
that. um but then the reality is, like, every day you wake up, it's like, well, why like, why go through the
What's my
grind?
purpose? What's my
just just
purpose?
just retire. Just And then I got into, like, so yeah, just identity crisis, where um I've been a tech CEO for a long time, and not having that hat, it actually hurts.
Yeah.
Now, so now I'm over that. I'm building. I'm like, I mean,
Right.
OpenClaw every day,
All
24/7.
right, so we're going to transition here
um
because it is such a fascinating time, right? And if you look at OpenClaw and just if anybody's read the story of what's happened in just the last month, right?
right.
Um, and that project. Oh, I need to go get the Peter. I'm spacing his last name, but that he was a very successful. He had exited.
Yep.
He had a $100 million exit before a few years back. He sort of spent his time, post exit,
Yep.
decompress,
Yep.
meditation, traveling, discovering himself. But what's interesting is he was trying different things. He was, and excuse me, I have had bronchitis this week. So my
Oh.
apologies to my guests because I know it's a little bit annoying. I'm doing my best not to cough. Definitely am. So, but what's interesting about this story, this was OpenClaw, which was ClawedBot when it started, and then it was MaltBot, now it's OpenClaw, was his 44th project,
Right.
post-retirement.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I think that that's a really interesting story in and of itself, that he was willing to explore and experiment and find. And probably at some point, every one of those 43 other ideas, he probably thought was it. Like, you don't start it unless you kind of get that feeling, right?
Yeah.
So now here we are, and he has launched this OpenClaw, and it's a fascinating open source tool. And now he's been acquired, I guess, acquired by
By OpenAI.
OpenAI.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yeah. So let's you talk us through, if you could introduce OpenClaw to our guests, that would be great, and then how you're thinking about it.
Well, so the easiest way to explain OpenClaw is, finally, something that it feels like the personal assistant agent that we were promised of since the Siri day, right? Siri was released, I don't even know when, like 2010 or
2011.
Yeah,
We had a
so
meetup
long
about
ago.
it. We had a meetup
Oh,
about it. We actually did an evening with Modev about how voice could impact mobile apps.
right.
And it's still on the calendar. You can go find it. And so,
right.
but talk
So,
about fumbling the ball. That's another episode. But
yeah.
we were introduced to the very first voice agents
Right.
in 2011.
Right.
Yeah.
right? 16 years, 15 years later.
Yep.
So OpenClaw at its heart is trying to be your real personal assistant, doing whatever you need it to do. Now, combine that with the LLM's intelligence, and plus combine that with the coding ability. Anthropic wrote a article about, like, this is last year, middle of last year, is all you need is code. Is they realize actually you don't have to build anything else. If the thing itself, if your agent can develop, right? If your assistant can develop, then whatever you need, they develop on the fly, right? So like I some friend and I were talking about trading. Like, they were traders. They want to trade stock. And in the past, so one of them, actually, we were talking last night. One of them were this algo trading expert. So he has been developing, right, coding the Python script to actually predict the stock. And now we're like, okay, well, you don't have to code. You still have to know. You still have to understand the logic, right? So like, but all you need to do is write down the logic and give the math behind the logic. The agent can code. So that's a big realization. Now, comparing OpenClaw to just plain old ChatGPT and Claude, the major difference are two things. One is always on long-term memory. Now, ChatGPT has that, but it is kind of like session-based. You have to go back and find it.
Yep.
And then the other thing actually is a name. It's funny enough. OpenClaw kind of expect or force you to give it a name. My main claw is called Felix. So it has a like interesting psyche. Once you give it a name, then it becomes your assistant. It actually, like right now, every morning I say, okay, good morning, Felix. Let's start to work. And then he will, like last night at 11 o'clock, he was like, well, it's getting late. Why don't we pick this up tomorrow? It's actually, so that creates an illusion of you're actually working with an assistant.
The personality. It becomes the
personality. Right. Which I mean, the very interesting thing is underlying all this, right? It at the bottom of this is still ChatGPT or Claude, right? Whichever model you use. OpenClaw is just sit on top. They're not a model, right? The underlying intelligence comes from the actual model, which can come from Claude, come from OpenAI, or come from any of the open source models. But having a name, having long-term memory, and be able to wake up on its own, whether it is like there is something called heartbeat, that it will wake up every 30 minutes to check email, right? Which is what people do, right? So like from time to time, you go check email, you say, okay, anything I need to do. So one of my OpenClaw project or experiments is I set up a team, and a team of four personalities. Actually, I love the different personality types. So I set up a OpenClaw team with four personalities, and they are giving a task to run their own business or figure out what business to run. Now I'm entrepreneur. That's all in my head, right? And every 30 minutes, they will have a huddle on their own. So like, think about, so it turns out the iteration actually helps a lot, where if they come back, if they come in a human company, you meet once a day, right? Even that people say is crazy. But now the bots can meet every 30 minutes. So they iterate. Right. And I told them to, like, whatever you guys come up with, just report to me 3 times a day. Those is kind of their equivalent of a week, right? So they report to me like 3 times, like almost like every week.
See, what business do you have Felix working on for you?
Right. So now this is actually iterations. So iterations number 1, 2 weeks ago, it's crazy. 2 weeks ago, they came up with a tool, a simple tool business. They think, okay, great. If we can build simple tools, they will build a tool every day. And then these are tools like, and they figure they don't want anything that is too complex. They be able to develop and push to the market once a day. And these are like QR code generator, random number, things that they believe I would need, like developers would need. So like encryption, simple encryption, like you type something, you give it a key, it encrypts for you, and so simple development use cases, tiny thing. So that's what they start to do. Now on day 5, I say like that, let's just rethink. So that's experiment number 1. Experiment number 2 was that, and then the next weekend, they gave me a proposal, actually a pitch deck. It's actually, they say, okay, now we've now nailed down to 8 things that we think should be built. And I say, so send me a long list. I said, no, don't. Like for each tool that you think you should build, or each system that you think you should build, give me a PowerPoint. Give me a simple 3-slide per idea, a pitch deck, right? And they did. And I look at them. Now, these are, one of them is URL monitor. Now, this thing I've never thought of. It's a simple thing that marketing teams would need, like to monitor your competitors, to monitor like whatever it is, or the stock market, right? If that website change, you just note. It's simple stuff. Right. Or there's something called like an endpoint monitor. It's that people who create API, they need to know their API is still running, right? So like they put a ping to that endpoint and say, okay, we're still alive, 200, good, right? And they say people pay for it, and there are utilities out there. I don't know about these because I only know what I know, right? So I say, great. So put these together. And of course, like I only took them like 2-3 hours to put all of those together.
Right.
Now, they also have GitHub accounts. They all have their own email address and GitHub account. So they push it into GitHub, and now it's up to me. Like I am the bottleneck, actually. I am now the bottleneck. Now, so finishing last weekend, we're now Friday. This coming weekend is another iteration. This last weekend, we were just talking. I just jump in and start talking, and there is a big. Oh, what happened last week is I changed them into Opus 4.6. So now they move into a better brain, which just show up last week, right? So it's like, okay, I'll give you the better brain. Now re-strategize. Just forget everything that you thought you did. Just restart. And they realize the one big realization is they say if we can build software so fast, we can actually take over one vertical and build everything they need. So they say, like, imagine a freelancer, right? So someone who's a consultant. What do they need? They may need a scheduling, they may need accounting, they may need DocuSign, they may need like CRM. We can build all that like in a week. And I say, oh, that's awesome. So let's try that. And I say, well, let's start with scheduling, because right now I pay for Calendly, I pay for DocuSign, right?
Yep.
How about start with Calendly? So right now, sitting right here, I'm looking at it. It's Calendly. It's actually working on my computer. Again, I'm the bottleneck right now because they're not. I'm not yet. I'm not yet giving them AWS access yet, right?
Right.
If I give them full AWS access, they don't even need me. But right now, I'm the bottleneck. So that's what's been happening now. But that's just me, right? And so I want more people to try it. That me is because I only think about these things, right?
Yeah.
That's why I had calls with like some of my trader friends last night. It's like, how would you guys use it, right? I want you to just imagine and train them, and see what happened, right?
A friend of mine texted me last night. He had used OpenClaw and built his own Airbnb for his own vacation rental. And built the whole thing. You could rent it, select the dates, move in, move out, make the purchase, and he did it all this week. using
Right.
OpenClaw.
So now extrapolate on what we just talked about.
Right.
If me now, I'm not. I mean, I'm just a regular developer, if you will, right?
Right.
With the help of AI, if I were able to release like a DocuSign or a Calendly clone, and your friend can build a Airbnb clone,
Yep.
well, how do these companies compete? Now, Airbnb is different, right? Because they
Right.
are able to, they have brand recognition, they
Yeah.
have, but think about smaller firms. If for the next months, weeks, a equivalent of what they can do will be released at a fraction, at 10 times, 50 times the cost, right? So if they are like Calendly, they're charging whatever, I think we're paying them about $100 a month.
Yeah.
I am going to release Calendly and charge $1 a month.
Right.
I mean, because I just need to pay AWS. I mean, I think it would cost me about $15 to $20 to run AWS. Well, I'll charge $1 just to prove a point, right? So like I'm all about. So then think about how will that change the industry in the short run, right? There's a limited window of opportunity that you can actually make money by cloning something and offer it cheap. But that window will close very soon.
Yeah.
I don't know how soon, maybe months.
Yeah.
A year and a half, no more than 2 years.
IP attorneys are going to have fun. They'll be making money, definitely. I think that I mean, this is the slam on AI is that yes, you can create a SaaS company overnight, but can you really compete? Can you really offer all of the? Can you be an enterprise grade SaaS tool? And really, the short answer is right now, like no, for like
not yet.
99.9% of vibe coders, there's so much that goes into an enterprise architecture.
Correct.
And all of the controls and that's the reality of the situation. But I think that the long tail of the market is where it gets interesting, that yes, we can stand up things. And I would say that like one thing that kind of comes to mind is when dot matrix printers made it onto the market, and suddenly you could print signs for your local business using interesting fonts and colors, and you didn't have to go to a print shop to have that done, right? So it's like it's democratizing software in a way that hasn't been possible before. I think the other really interesting thing about OpenClaw, and this is what the Impossible Summit, the first one is in April in Boise, and the idea is that you bring your impossible idea, we help you refine exactly what it is and actually probably make it bigger and scarier than you're willing to when you get there. But then we're going to build a brain for you. This second brain is actually going to work for you. You're going to leave with something that's actually working versus just setting up, Claude Cowork is wonderful. But again, it's, or ChatGPT, it's prompt and response, and it's like, but can you have something that's working for you all the time when you're not working? That's actually what's going to be needed. That's what people, I think, the big difference in the world today, which is where it's and where it's going, is that if you're going to stay competitive, you're going to have an AI that's working for you and with you.
Right.
Whether it's, and if you're a writer, the AI is doing research and coming up with ideas and storylines, and you're the writer, you still maintain that role as the human. I think that's so important. Also, software developments. Yes, these things can write software. But I will contend, and another business that I'm launching here soon called developers.ai, is that the humans will have an integral role in the success of software as it moves forward. We're not just going to replace every developer. That's not reality. I think you as a developer, you have an advantage right now with AI because you understand code. But so I think that's kind of brings us to where we are right now, where we're kind of on the precipice of this impossible moment. And I would say also, like, one thing I notice in the market is that the human capital is being reduced in exchange for infrastructure capital investments at a big level, right? So
energy,
companies they have to make big investments in infrastructure capital. It's not necessarily that code is replacing developers, but what's replacing developers is infrastructure.
Mhm.
So developers were an asset, a capital asset for big companies. They still are, right? But in order, companies have to make trade-offs right now. So it's really incumbent on the individuals to be the most conversant on AI and the most relevant as it relates to these future capital investments if you want to stay relevant.
Yeah. I mean,
I think that's the reality of where we are.
Right. So what I tell my developer friends is that don't deny. I mean, this is happening. It's going to write code faster than you can, but that doesn't mean you're useless. I mean, it makes me a better developer that way. I mean, I was an architect, right? So as an architect, you don't write code. Well, you write very limited code, but you're responsible for every single line of code that goes out the door. So how do you do that? Well, you do that exactly like how you should do with AI right now. You're responsible for what they write, what they put together, and ask the right questions. The question is, do you know what questions to ask? Do you know the different like security threat that may come to your system, right? So those are still like maybe they get better and better, but you need to stay up. And I think like I always tell young people, be the person who people go to in your circle, right? In every circle, there people are talking about AI, how does it work? Well, be the person that people go to within your circle. So and what that means is you just need to learn faster than people around you, or be the expert. And then you will be like I mean, the reality is winner takes all. So it all goes to that few people who knows, and people go to them for asking questions, and then you gain the opportunity. So I want more people doing that. And if I may, I want to talk about our incubation program where
please do tell us about it.
Yeah, next month we're going to try to get as many teams as possible to just build on OpenClaw. And the vision is this: we're not going to be able to be successful by shipping fast SaaS, just replacing people. That's the short term. The medium term is going to be the difference between, in the past, we will sign up for QuickBooks and then go get an accounting software, versus in the future, you are going to hire an accountant and an AI accountant that will do your book within your company your way, right? So think about all of these professions like accounting, legal, I mean, everything, recruiting, marketing. Right now, you sign up for a tool and then you do like everything becomes part of that.
Linear. Tool. Everything's linear.
Right. Outsourcing. Everything. Data is in someone else's server. Now, maybe not server. Maybe the server is still outsourced. But this is the mindset of what I call data comes home. So in the future, what I envision is you're going to hire, just like in the past, before SaaS, you will hire people come to your company to do work. In the future, you will hire these AI agents to work. Now, the opportunity is if you can create the accounting agent, the legal agent, the marketing agent that people will buy. Now, how would the business model change? I don't know yet.
Right.
But I know that the world is moving that way.
Right.
People are not going to buy SaaS because they can create SaaS. What they want, it's an expert, like trading, like what we had a meeting last night. And they were talking about, all these trading strategy. I don't know, right? But they're talking about it. And it's like, for me, well, I don't want to learn all of your trading strategy. I would just pay whatever. I don't know, maybe $500 and I'll hire a guy, an AI trader, to come to my trading platform and say, okay, well, this is my thing. Look through it. I mean, kind of like you go to a bank for your financial advisor. Right? In the future, it will be an AI financial advisor. And the opportunity for all of us is, can we create that expert, that AI expert that people will want?
Right.
So
I think
Yeah, I
smart,
want teams to do that. Yeah.
take a cue from the ChatGPT store, right? So a lot of those, agents that you can go and talk with, whether they're legal or maybe they're that even might even be therapy agents, whatever. There are therapists behind or law firms behind those agents,
Yep,
right?
exactly.
So they're using it as lead capture, and so really smart people, brokers are gonna field their agents or build their agents, or they're gonna know that people are using agents and say, hey, yes, I think that's really brilliant, but when you need a human being, I'm the human being behind that.
Exactly. Yeah, people
Yeah.
need someone to blame, and actually,
Right.
the blaming,
That's right.
it's a legal thing, right? So like, because I mean, people already ask, right? If I hire an AI agent, if ChatGPT right now, if ChatGPT give me bad legal advice, who do I blame? Nobody. Well,
Right.
but if you were the lawyer, right, who put this together and sell it to a million people, well, they can blame you. Now, maybe blaming is the negative connotation of what this is accountability. You are taking accountability.
Right.
And if you take ownership of the accountability, well, then you'll be successful. This will be a business opportunity. So yeah, I mean, we're going to fund some of these teams. We're putting 10K on the line right now, and I already have investors reaching out to me and saying like they will follow. Now,
well, that's
it's
fantastic.
not a lot of money.
I'll put all the links. In the YouTube notes on this podcast, and I'll put a link to your book as well. I'm so glad that you brought that up. And Z, as a first podcast, has been a great conversation because we're at this inflection point right now. You're living right at it. Congrats again on a successful exit, and thanks for sharing your journey with us and where you are. It's an exciting time. We're going to check in with each other here in a few months. I'm excited for the very first Impossible AI Summit as well. I'll put the links and how to get involved with that. April 21st and 22nd in Boise, but we're also right now we're going to be looks like we're going to London, Austin, Seattle, and Miami, Florida this year with Impossible Summits because we have quite a demand already. So we're excited to see where that goes. And yeah, it's fun for me because it doesn't exist. It's it's not like there's a competing event, right? So that's what we want to do is we want to create something where there's nothing like it, but it's super needed. And that's something I've done before, but it's quite frankly, it's been a while. And with AI, it's like, what can we do that's unique, and how do we add value to the market? So we're definitely gonna get you to the future one. I know you're going off to Hong Kong for your mother's 80th in April.
Yes.
Congrats to your mom.
I have to miss this.
Yeah, congrats to your mom. I think it's wonderful. And Z, thanks for joining us for the very first Impossible podcast. I'm Pete Erickson. Thanks for hanging out with us. Z, thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.